Good morning from the Sawatch Range. Today going to be hiking the north ridge of Huron Peak. For a full trail guide of 14er Huron Peak via the north ridge, you can check the link in the description below. To catch you up to speed here, I'm about 0.7 miles from Winfield. You're going to take the standard road up to Huron, and then right when you see this sign here, this is the left you're going to take here, which is the Lulu Gulch Road. Obviously a variation on a 14er I've done twice already, but looking to kind of just mix things up today, get some mileage, get some vert in. The next 1.4 miles approximately of your hike are going to be on this Lulu Gulch Road, but just note that you are not following the standard 4x4 road up to Huron Peak. Why would you take the North Ridge versus the standard route up Huron Peak? There's a couple reasons. Number one being it's a little bit longer. There's much less people on this route. I'd be kind of surprised if I saw anybody today until I got to the saddle where the standard trail joins. And also it allows you to create a loop as well, which is kind of cool. So if you're not looking to do an out and back hike, finally, it's just a different variation on something that you might have already done. And just about 1.7 miles into the hike, you're gonna go left here. If you went right, which I kind of want to do, I just don't trust the weather to hold up all day, is an old mine. So I don't know how far, but looking at the map, I'm gonna say it at least adds a mile and a half or so. This is the point where if you have a 4x4 even, you're not gonna be able to continue further because the road is closed. Talking about the approach road here, definitely rougher than the standard one up to Huron. I wouldn't recommend it unless you have good clearance and also good experience driving with 4x4 roads, and also a pretty powerful car because it's pretty steep. Grouse is in summer mode. Emerging from the trees into Lulu Basin here, you can see Browns Peak in front of you. Very obvious one. This is a good opportunity to talk about your two options right now. So this peak right here, Middle Mountain, it's like 13.4. I think it's a tricentennial or whatever they call it. It's top 300 peaks in Colorado. You can see maybe the switchbacks that will get you up there, and then you'd go over to Browns. Or if you were just looking to tag Browns, it's a more obvious route up and over to the summit. No joke, I just looked behind me at this view and said, wow. Look at all these pretty wildflowers just everywhere. This is your last decision of really the day, and you can go or go left, and you can kind of see these switchbacks. Originally, I was just gonna go straight up Browns, but I'm gonna go left, not because I want this peak or need extra mileage, but because I honestly think I'm gonna move a lot faster on this versus that slope behind me. So time is of the essence in the summer, and I wanna just get up on this ridge and over to Huron. Almost topped out of the super long switchbacks here. Gorgeous, slow, not terrible switchbacks though. Mainly packed gravel dirt with some little scree fields in between. I don't know how much faster this will end up being than the other way, but I'm committed now. up on the ridge now, and I'm not really sure which one is 13, 40, whatever. It's not the objective at all. Clouds are starting to gather a bit, so I think I'm just gonna go as direct as I can to Browns, because I have to go to Browns to get to Huron, and if I tag this other one, great. If not, whatever. It's definitely most logical to gain it. So across there, summit of middle, over to Browns, and then you might just be able to make out Huron. It's kind of in a fog cloud. Quick mileage update, just about 4 in with 2,500 feet of gain. Looking back all the way to the saddle there, and then where you came in, looking over to Huron Peak for pretty much the best view we've had all day. It's right in here. I gotta be honest, if the clouds continue to move like this, summiting Huron will not be a priority. Summit of Middle Mountain, and would you look at these views? We got a little bit here. Clouds are not my friend right now. To the summit, 3,000 feet of gain, just about 4.7 miles, and I'm going to sign the registry and get the hell out of here, because I do not want to be up high when these clouds continue to build. You're going to follow the pretty obvious saddle down and then have to gain a bit back up to Browns Peak. Obviously, in the summer, they're typically carrying energy, whether it's now or in an hour or 2 hours or whatever, I don't know. But I also know that my options for bailing, if things got really bad, are obviously down these slopes here. Quickest way to bail. Remaining hopeful, since it's only 8:40 in the morning, that I have a couple more hours before the thunderstorms start, but the second I hear any activity, I will be making a bailout plan based on where I am at that point. This is just like what I always talk about, to be prepared in the summer, especially for afternoon thunderstorms, rain, because energy in the mountains here varies so much. I mean, you can see where I am, I'm in the clouds. You look over there, they're pretty much in the clouds, but it's not as cloudy as here. So you just have to be smart and do your research using things like Open Summit, which is a great app to plan any trip with when it comes to weather, is the first step to having a successful day in the mountains. And ultimately, a successful day in the mountains is one where you're returning back to your car and back to your house. I suppose now is a good time to remind people what to do if you do get caught in a thunderstorm, and that's basically number one. The most important thing you can do is get as low down the mountain as you can. Obviously, you want to be safe, because if you fall off a cliff, that's way higher chances of death than maybe getting struck by lightning. So use your best judgment. Number two, if you're able to, obviously try to get some shelter. Number three, if you can't, then what you're going to want to do is get as low to the ground as you can if it's right over you, like right in the immediate vicinity. You want to reduce points of contact with the ground as much as you can. So there's like this stance you can look up where basically you're on like your toes and your fingertips, so that way if the ground around you does get struck, you're reducing contact with it. Obviously, it's not a good scenario to find yourself in. If you had gone up the first way I showed you, you basically would have been coming up right here. You can see Browns Peak again, which is some positive direction for the clouds. And it's about a 200-foot, very gentle, grassy climb. As with any non-trail situation, just try to reduce your footprint as much as you can. All these beautiful flowers, I'm trying to just avoid as much as I can. Once you are on the summit of Browns, you're gonna go there, and Huron's right there. It's about a 400-foot climb to the summit. All right, summit of Browns Peak. This one is unranked, but if it were ranked, probably be a bicentennial, top 200 highest, 13.6 or so. So next up is Huron, this guy. All right, so to this point, 5.25 miles, 3,400 feet of gain, and there's just one more tricky section, and then you'll just be joining the standard trail of Huron Peak. From Browns Peak there, I'm just gonna head over to this ridge line. You can see kind of this point in front of me here. You're gonna basically skirt across this. And right underneath that little hump I was showing you guys earlier, I think my general game plan, unless it's absolutely horrendous, is just to shoot straight across and then up, join the regular trail. Looking back towards Browns Peak or mountain, really not too bad. So I kind of just like took this straight over from that hump. You have another 500 feet of climbing to go and nowhere to hide if weather rolls in, so just be smart. Oh man, I forgot how steep and nasty this trail is. About 13.8 though, so almost to the summit of Huron Peak. This is going to be a tag the summit scenario and get the hell out of here. These clouds starting to form a base. It was really dark right here, so definitely want to get out of here. Woo-wee. Third time up here on Peak, and it is gorgeous. The clouds making everything look so badass. To the summit here, about 6 miles, 4,100 feet of gain, and yeah, I actually really liked that route a lot more than the standard Huron Peak route. Reason being, obviously, more seclusion is great, but I think the views are just like overall better. You don't have to hike through as much forest. Look at the sun peeking out here. Colorado weather for you. I would say dog friendly for sure. Minimal route finding, not a ton, as long as you kind of know general direction. And yeah, tagging those other two peaks I thought was pretty well worth it. I'm not going to linger much longer here because I don't want to get struck by lightning and die. So enjoy some more views of the summit. Here is a full look back. What is that? Browns Peak, middle mountain, and then out of view there. I love seeing mountain goats. So cool. One animal I'll never get jaded to see. Looks like a little baby behind. So I'm working down the standard Huron Peak trail. I thought this was a good opportunity to kind of show you good, maybe getting worse, and bad clouds. So this peak here, it's cloudy. It's definitely not going to be good for a long time, but it's okay for now. Going to the right here, this peak here, Obviously, a lot of energy building. Definitely don't want to be lingering in that kind of thing. But then you go to this peak here, and it is clearly very dark. Obviously, some kind of rain or snow or grapple going on up there, and a higher chance of lightning and thunder. So it really kind of emphasizes the importance of obviously doing your research with resources like Open Summit, but also using your mind when you're hiking. Like, if things are starting to look not to your comfort level, probably better to play it conservative, especially in thunderstorm season here. Well, as you can tell, things have drastically decreased in funness. Oh man, at least I'm not above tree line though. Grapple City. So I'm back down at the upper lower trailhead, and of course it is thunder and lightning, which I don't super care about, but the next part that I have to go through is a big wide open field. So really happy about that. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. Send it fast, I guess. Well, that was far from ideal. After my last check-in, I ended up just kind of like jogging / running down the open parts and then hiking back in the woods. Certainly an entertaining way to end the day, but that's the summer, that's the mountains. Overall, the hike was about 11 miles from here, so this is like right before the 4x4 road gets rough, and about 4,100 feet of climbing. The 11 miles part comes because I went up the Middle Peak and Browns Peak together versus just Browns. And honestly, I think that's probably the way to go, unless you really just like don't want to do those extra, mile and a half or so. Huron Peak via the North Ridge, I really enjoyed it. I think this would probably be my preferred route. I know people have been telling me to do this forever, and I'm glad I finally checked it out. Let me know if you've done this route, what you think of it in the comments below. As always, for a full trail guide on Huron Peak via the North Ridge, you can check my website, thevirtualsherpa.com, linked in the description below for a free awesome hike guide. To help support the channel, as always, you can make donations. You can shop virtual Sherpa gear through my website, linked in the description below as well. But as always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys on the next adventure.